Alright Sluggers, it's been a little while since we've covered an entire week of Mario Baseball, and I'm very excited to get back to the schedule. In the last video we took a break from the recaps by covering the All-Star Game, which was a huge upset victory for the Mushroom Conference. As we return back to the second half of the season, please direct your attention to the screen to remind you of the standings going into Week 4, Day 1. Starting Week 4, the teams were no longer able to trade. As you may recall, the deadline was the day before the All-Star Game. And to my surprise, there was no free agent signing this week, as for the first time in a while, the league was quiet. But maybe not behind the scenes, as things were shaping up to be pretty odd. Now let's jump into the games of the week. Game 1 would be the Ziggy Monarchs against the Ramen Noodle Knights, where Deja Vu would be in the eyes of the Monarchs, with BP smacking one high above the fence for the first hit in the second inning.
Pipe Rock Theory?
Pipe Rock?
Pipe Rock Theory? Have you heard of Pipe Rock Theory? Wow.
Blue Pianta with a home run. That is a rare thing that doesn't happen, as the Monarchs are going to take the lead now.
Holy shit. Toad would debut for the Monarchs, if I'm not mistaken here, to load the bases for the captain.
Alright. Bases
loaded.
loaded.
The bases up. Who's going to get bases loaded? Oh, okay.
And with 2 outs, she would...
See if Peach can get an RBI here.
Well, I can't say I'm too surprised. Hammerbro would decide to go ball for ball against BP by imitating exactly his own move in the bottom of the second for the first hit.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, is that gone? It's over Poshi's head!
This home run would finally start the popular community nickname Whammerbro to appear more often in the comments. In the top of the third, the Knights would gain 2 quick outs, and with Baby Peach up next to the plate, they expected another easy play.
Alright, Baby Peach with a man on second, with 2 outs remaining. Can she get any kind of points on the board? Star hit. That's gonna roll, and that is actually gonna send BP home for another point.
That is a great hit by her.
The Monarchs are gonna be 2-1.
Luigi would come to follow, but Strawberry Shortcake would just barely get a hit out to the left side to send Baby Peach home as well. As we fast forward to the bottom of the fourth now, GDB would be in a tough situation. Runners in the corners and 2 outs, quite the pressure, and that pressure would rise even more with 2 big swings off balance. But if you know anything about GDB, he yearns for tight situations.
Here, please. I'm so sad right now.
Yeah, there's another nice slap down the middle. It's going to send Mario home as it is 3-2.
Peppermint Patty would now be able to prove her worth for the team to follow.
Peppermint Patty herself from the Peanut series.
That's just not happening, bro.
Oh my god, it's a bobble into a catch by Strawberry Shortcake. Holy crap.
Aw, shucks. The score would settle the same going to the bottom of the 7th, as the Knights were losing any momentum GDB had pushed before. And with a 1-2-3 potential lineup coming up, we were already throwing in the towel. But something changed inside that dugout that day. The Knights' determination grew 3 sizes, they say. 3 players, 3 hits, once perceived as mediocre.
And here's Mario. It would take a miracle or a walk-off homer. This might be the end of the Monarchs. This might be the end of the Monarchs. It's going to get caught. It's going to send Steezy home, though. Oh, close play. And it's going to go to Steezy, as he just barely ties the game up here.
And with the game now tied, it wouldn't be long until Cody would end the game 4-3.
It's going to send Toadsworth home, and that's the game, folks. Huge, crazy comeback.
Well, that was sure poetic. Let's now move to the jungle, as the Miles Bows would be in heat with the Chronostella Flowers. Now, these were 2 very competitive teams, and I'm sure you will all recall what is coming up in just a few weeks. The last time these teams faced off, the Flowers absolutely dismantled the Bows, and I'm sure Miles had well prepared his team for vengeance. I'm gonna let Tyler of the Wilds explain the weights on this particular game.
Yeah, Tyler, do you want to say anything about both teams? Do you have anything for them?
Birdo Bows are 3-3. The Flowers are 4-2. So everybody's kind of on the edge of the playoffs, or whether they're going to get in or not. Because we're on the second half of the season, and the regular season. So you really want to get some wins, and you want to get ahead, because there's like a 3-way tie for like 3rd and 4th place. This really decides the end of the season.
The first inning would be defensive shutdowns for both teams, and I think it's important to now mention how aggressive the defensive side of the Bows truly are. Miles was able to draft Bowser and Birdo, which they would both go on to land in the top 3 pitchers of the league. The pair would be the only players in the entire season to have 100% success rates in their star pitching, which is actually insane. In the top of the second, LeBlochy would grab a RBI from a ball flying out to Greg, allowing Zoe to tag up. With Birdo on base in the bottom, Tyler was looking for something wigglerific.
Wiggler's good hitter, so you gotta watch out here.
Well, he was hopeful at least. The Flowers would push their fight a little bit more in the top of the third, with Garfield smacking a corner for Daisy to score. A bobble from Britta would make room for a runner to join the diamond, shortly with a run to follow.
A bobble off the critter and shortstop.
LeBlochy would bring another runner home as well, respectfully, now ending the inning 4-0. The other half would push 2 runners on base with 1 out.
Oh, she dodged it!
Oh, with the shell.
I have never seen that before, as she's able to avoid the shell, but avoids the ball as well.
Bowser was next in line for the bat, but after a previous poor performance, we didn't have a lot of hope in him urban crawling the team out of this hole. The Bows still showed no signs of being alive almost all game, and with 2 more chances, it was honestly disappointing us in the booth. This was one of the 2 very hyped up games on this day, but Bowser was tired of the disrespect. He wanted to prove everyone that he was more than just a 3rd place MVP in his conference. He was more than an all-star MVP. He was the man.
Producing this game. Fly ball left. Just foul. He would have been out of here.
And this might be what we need. If it's high enough, it might not be.
Alright, fly.
And it's gonna be.
Nobody jump.
It's gonna get fed to the pigs. It will get fed to the pigs, as that is a nice 2-man.
And with an easy 2-piece dime in his pocket, the rest of the team knew exactly what to do. Birdo would get an easy charge hit down the middle left side to get on base for Britta. Britta, too, was tired of the Critter Gang disrespect and was looking for more than a home run to tie.
Oh, man. Wow.
Fly ball left field. Another 2-run homer.
He's got the box cutter blues.
And with no outs yet, the team was looking possible for a comeback. But Red Para had other opinions to close the game out as best he could. The Flowers now had a lot of pressure, as most of the team just had their winning boners softened with 2 dingers. It was clear their heads were not in the game, as the Bows were easily able to snag a 1-2-3 for their stat books. So now in the bottom of the 7th, the Bows had a chance to make history.
It's alright, bottom of the 7th, tied game, which is pretty crazy. As we go back to square one with Sean here.
Greg would slap a ball over Zoe's head, landing him on first base, bringing Garfield up to the mound. Abe Lincoln would try to smack a ball past the infield, but LeBlochy was continuing to stack up his defensive stats, as this was his best game by far. But now up to the plate was Bowser, going 1 for 3 and looking pissed. You could feel the jungle almost shake in the commentary booth with each step he took.
Big boy here.
Oh no! He might do it, he might do it.
Walk.
Oh!
Oh, gosh.
Funky Kong, out of nowhere, proved to the audience why he was the #1 MVP in the Mushroom Conference with an amazing jump. But now the game was in the hands of fate itself. 2 competitive teams, 2 competitive MVPs in Funky and Bowser, who had just recently been forced to team up in the All-Star game. It was now time to settle their differences. Dixie would be the only member of the Flowers to get on base. Funky up next was nerve-wracking, and it must have worked on Honest Abe, as 2 bobbles would give Dixie enough time to take the lead 5-4.
He's gonna score with 2 outs.
Now Tiny Kong was looking to get a 2-piece for herself.
You got 2 outs, man, on first.
Oh my god, Tiny Kong.
That might be.
Oh, it's caught by Greg.
Greg would just barely save the team. And now, more than ever, Britta would have to bring the team back to the top.
You're gonna need it.
High fly ball left field. Foul. 2 strikes on him. Fly ball center field. Bounces right in front of Funky Kong.
Barely fair there.
Felt like he could have slid. Yeah, he could have slid for that one.
Not exactly what they wanted, but a hit will do.
Pretty good hit. They've had a couple maybe 3 or 4 home runs. So.
Another hit from Wiggler, but the Bows unfortunately did not have the batting depth, as Red Madge would not be enough.
So Magic Koopa try and get a hit in the right field. Try and get it in the corners.
Oh, wow. That is going to be the game.
The Flowers were able to hold another win on top of the Bows, but it was not smooth sailing this time. The Bows, however, were going back home tonight not with lowered chins like the previous game, but rather something else. Perhaps we'll see this rivalry continuing to brew later on in the season. And now, probably the most important game of the night. And if you can't tell by now, this week is a repeat of week 1, expecting teams to show a little bit more balanced performances from their first ever game with their in-conference rivals. And the one team everybody was looking at was the Tyler Likes Wilds. Previously, they had been mercied by the Steezy Eggs from some questionable home runs, but even though the Wilds had made incredible team changes, they were still not picked to beat the Eggs, who by now have taken the #1 spot from the Spitballs in the Banana Conference. However, the fans were still rooting for the underdog, or shall I say, the Undercong. This was also a weird game because all the other commentators were probably asleep, so Tyler and I had to break the rule and voice over our own games. Let's hope that we show no bias.
Goomba's a pretty good pitcher. He usually lasts the whole game.
Yeah, Goomba has done a very good job at being a pretty good overall around pitcher, I'd have to say.
Good point mentioned by Tyler and I. Goomba was doing very well this season, especially coming back from a bit of a break. He was in the top 3 with Bowser and Birdo for pitching contenders in the league too. A bobble off of Ritter would land Baby Mario on first to start the second. And let's cut to the in-game commentary as another great point gets brought up here.
Also something to note real quick, Baby Mario is going against the team that benched him the entire season,
Bingo.
So will Baby Mario have some spiteful vengeance?
Well, that vengeance would be spiked with a double play and a catch to end the half. But now in the top of the third, both teams were really proving to be a great match for each other, and definitely far more competitive than their first write-off. But do you remember back in previous videos when I referred to Donkey Kong as Dinger King? Well, today, my friends, is when history gets made.
That's true, that's true. Here's Donkey Kong.
Charging up. No way. Over the high wall.
The whole chat was spamming Dinger King before he even hit it.
He did something.
Alright, beautiful home run for Donkey Kong. I'm not even joking to you, I was watching the chat. Everybody was spamming Dinger King before he even hit the ball.
The infield was proving to be tough for the Eggs, already in the bottom of the third as Tyler had filled the entire area with chemistry, which was lacking in Game 1. The Eggs would be unable to return the favor in the bottom of the inning, bringing the Wilds back into the driver's seat. Roshi would get on base and advance to second thanks to a Baby Mario bunt, and later on being able to run home to push the score up 2-0.
Here's King K. Rool.
First and second, 2 out.
Bottom of the fourth. 2 outs, everything's on the line with this next ball.
I would disagree with myself here as not everything is on the line, but definitely some pressure. However, K. Rool would bring a runner home and land runners in the corners for Ritter.
RBI for the King. So,
and Red Critter's back.
Red Critter.
This is not a position you want to be in for Red Critter. And that is a wow. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I thought that was going to hit the wall. I thought there was a wall there.
Yeah, I thought it was off the wall.
I don't have much to say that hasn't already been said, but Ritter would be able to pull his team into the lead and up by 2. The hideous creature would disgust the team's run, however, with a hit right to Ryguy. Both teams would be able to fend each other off in the 5th, and now in the 6th, Roshi had a chance to push the Eggs back down.
Red Yoshi, you really want a fly ball here. Get this out of here.
Whoa! It would have been caught from a special. It would have been caught from a special, but he got hit by a shell, so that's gonna be a point on the board.
Baby Mario was still looking to prove to the Eggs that he should have never been benched or traded.
Really
and it's gonna get the game tied.
Boo had loaded bases and full spirits.
Bases loaded, no outs.
Oh my god, it's gonna send 2!
That's going to get
6-4.
2 from the paddle.
The conveyor belt technique shown by teams in the past was being used excellently here by the Wilds. And they would not only take the lead with this method, but chalk up points to 7. And with a pitcher swap to Yoshi, DK wanted to wipe the board in revenge.
The fielder's choice to second base. He's going to...
Oh wow, DK! The train, it's gonna go home!
The train's in the way.
It's gonna go
DK,
home!
Right field.
Everybody again spamming Dinger King before he even did it.
Here's a funny chat read before the top ends.
Someone said the eggs are getting scrambled.
But BDB and K-Rool were able to squeak on base with 2 outs. Now Ritter was looking at the comeback.
That's gonna be a single.
Oh my gosh, that's too short though.
But Roshi was not, and the Wilds would choke in the top of the 7th, but the Eggs were not going out without a fight. Yoshi would have runners in the corners and 1 out. It wasn't much, but it was certainly a start.
Will it be the first ever double comeback? We never know. Yoshi's it's gonna allow double play. That's the end of the game. Oh!
On this specific play, I would learn to never count my team out, as even the weaker links can still surprise us. But a real strong link was up next to the plate in Firebro, who had been eerily quiet this game. Perhaps he's a sleeping monster to be reckoned with. However, with 2 outs and a small Goomba up next, that would be where the game would end. Tyler was definitely feeling a lot better about his team, not only beating me, his brother, in a competitive family game, but by taking down the #1 team in the conference with almost ease. These 2 teams would be another pair fans would love to see later on down the line. Oh, and then there was the Spitballs and the Monkeys. I don't really want to talk about that game, to be honest. It was a critter domination resulting in a 10-0 mercy in the 5th. I apologize to all the Spitball fans. It's nothing against your team personally, but with a long-ass video coming up, I don't feel the need to go in detail on a wipeout game. Wow, what a half of the week. Let's now look at the standings going into day 2. And while we are at it, here's the roster changes made in between games. Wait, what's that? Nothing? Well, that makes my job easier. Let's jump into those games, shall we? Game 1 would land us in Mario Stadium between the Wilds and the Eggs. That's just wrong. Just leave it in the video. That's fucking wrong, though. Sorry, Game 1 would land us in Mario Stadium between the Wilds and the Knights. Jesus Christ, man. Let's let Chronostella explain the standards.
Both of them are equally pretty good. Luigi's Knights, however, been holding the title of a pretty good team so far. They've been holding it down strong. DKs have been, coming in as runner-ups, They're kind of like they win, and, sometimes they won't, and I'll catch you by surprise. It's just like, whoa, they lost?
Now again, these 2 teams are in opposite conferences, so the feeling here was just to play a good game, and that's what we would hope to see. Roshi had an early RBI challenge for the Wilds and a tough early start.
He's now has the potential of an RBI challenge, which is pretty cool. You definitely like to see that.
Love RBI.
And that is going to be a double play to Mario down to first to Roshi, but they are going to get the score.
Let's let Pass Me describe one of the star players on the Wilds now.
Here's Baby Mario. Baby Mario has been doing a phenomenal job at being a player. As you know, he got traded from the Eggs to the Wilds and was able to absolutely destroy the Eggs in the last game, overcoming a lot of personal challenges and hardships. And speaking about overcoming personal hardships and challenges, Donkey Kong, famously known as the Dinger King, and I thought he was going to hit a dinger right there, but that is going to be caught for the 3rd out by the Lime Maverick.
As we moved into the bottom of the inning, the Wilds would be making their plans a lot stronger in the pitching side, starting DK with Boo as a relief, which seemed to be doing pretty well for them to say the least. But pretty soon, it would be captain versus captain with bases loaded and 2 outs.
Ooh, you have a captain showdown.
Uh-oh, that's gonna be just barely foul.
After a scary foul for the Wilds, Shy Guy would step up, or rather slide down, to keep the lead moving into the 2nd. The lead would extend thanks to Darkbones getting a piece and a baby DK double base and double RBI play. So now, in just the bottom of the second, the Knights were already down by 4 and needed a lot of momentum early on, although the other method could be waiting on the Wilds to just run out of gas. The Dinger Kings stepped up to the plate with 1 on base, looking to try and get this game closer to a mercy.
Here's Donkey Kong as the chat has already started spamming Dinger King, and we might see it right here.
However, Steezy proved to be the top 3 MVP he was. Bases would be loaded soon after for GSG, in what would result in a somewhat conveyor belt method used against the Eggs, which honestly was starting to seem like the Wild's go-to strategy against tough teams. This method would have them up 9-0 by the time Donkey Kong was able to come up to the plate.
They're gonna switch out another pitcher. I Hate Milk says this is a murder. I would have to agree with you so far. This is pretty crazy. Here is Donkey Kong.
And I think we all know what DK was craving.
Oh, just a foul. And it's going to be his first ever star hit. I don't think we've ever seen that before. It's going to send 2 runners home. 11-0.
Oh.
Not exactly the hit the Wilds fans were looking for, but still applied huge pressure that the Knights would have to now reply to, as Cody would catch the final out.
Now, this really depends on how the Knights play this next inning, because if they do not score some points on the board, it might be game over.
Good words here from Chronostella. Whammer Bro would be on the plate with a runner on second and a lot of pressure on the line to score 2 to stay alive. He was sure determined. Mario would really want to step up on his own brother's team with a 2-piece down the right field.
In the game.
Oh, and Mario, I think he's going to try to make a name for himself that's going to get caught.
However, it would be a robbery. How ironic. The Wilds were not only able to take down the team who destroyed them in their first ever game, but their next game almost mirrored it. Let's hear what Tyler himself has to say.
I would like to ask Tyler to come off of mics. How do you feel, man? Just gonna did he just clap? What he did?
Yeah, I was not. I mean, the Knights are good. Like, I wasn't expecting this. Like, but I mean, I've been working on chemistry and batting lines, and I saw what I did last game, and I was like, this worked. So I'm sticking to that. I like the lineup. I like the fielding. I think everybody's feeling really good. I figured out the pitching. And, you know, sometimes you get lucky. Like, there's like 3 bobbles in that one inning. Like,
yeah, that was a crazy game, dude. Wow.
Sometimes you just get lucky.
Anyways, I know I said I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on blowouts, but come on. The Wilds absolutely deserve this. The next game would put the Baz Spitballs against the Ziggy Monarchs in Yoshi Park. The Monarchs had noticed the Spitballs always pick this stadium, but specifically in the daytime. Knowing this, they chose nighttime.
You want a strawberry shortcake, you want a fly ball here, you want to hang up on it. Get a run.
Oh, is this a strawberry shortcake here?
Tyler, of course, would be correct here, as the Monarchs were able to draw first blood, sending BP home, who seems to always get their first point. And with another tight run home for Toad, he was really starting to look strong for the Monarchs. Honestly, I don't think they had a worry in their hearts until the bottom of the 4th, when Critter would tie the game from an RBI. Green Paratroopa was showing early signs of cheating, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Spitballs planned this. After all, they are the league villains, and especially coming off of a double loss last week, they didn't want to lose again. Surprisingly though, the game would still look close, as the score would remain tied until the bottom of the 6th, when Blitter was growing agitated.
We're going to be bases loaded, so Blue Critter, you not want to see this guy up. You got 1 out, so you want to get something in the air here.
Oh,
That's
and it's a grand slam.
Peach is too slow. Peach is
Yeah.
too slow to be in the outfield. They lost the chemistry when they put Baby Peach as the pitcher.
So the Spitballs would take a grand slam, which would actually win the game for them by the end of the 7th. On Daisy Cruiser, the Flowers would go off on the Eggs in one of the strongest cross-conference rivalries in what had really been a back-and-forth series. Do you remember earlier when I mentioned Garfield randomly making a name for himself? Well, that would be solidified this week with a homer straight down the middle to take the lead for the Flowers. Now both teams would be defensive weapons, locking each other down until the bottom of the third, when the Eggs would finally be able to attack in the most typical Eggs fashion.
Fastball from Zoe, going to be strike number 1. Big swing, center field. It bounced off of the wall.
Yep, off the wall to score a run home. At this point, they need Michael Jackson on their team, and Firebro would be able to score from second thanks to BDB's single on the left side to take the lead. In the bottom of the fourth, Ritter had a runner on first and was looking to deal some massive damage on a smaller map. However, a misguided hit would almost cost him, but thanks to K. Rool with the bananas, he was going to be able to get to first safe. If you're a hater of Ritter, these next 2 weeks are probably definitely going to be your favorites, as the defensive position swap for him actually changed his entire playbook, performing a lot worse. However, K. Rool noticing this would try to step up as the true leader of the Crocs. And now with 2 outs, 2 hard hitters down, and 3 innings to go, Zoe was feeling confident as a starting pitcher, especially when a toddler was next in line. I mean, really, she can't be a prop. Holy fuck. Baby Daisy hit a home run, and that would pretty much solidify the win, as the Flowers just weren't able to pull it back together, with the final score being 6-1 from a K. Rool homer. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the final event of the night, it was the Monkeys and the Bows on DK Jungle. The Bows were obviously in a poor mood from their previous loss, and were more than likely looking to slap major ass around on the Monkeys. However, Diddy was getting tired of leading a losing team, and was planning on trying to ignite some of that old fury from Game 1 Week 1. But with bases loaded for Birdo and just 4 hits, it was not looking great at all.
Uh-oh, captain versus captain off the bat. And Birdo has hit some home runs in her life before. That is something to note. And oh my goodness, nope, it's not. Okay.
MJ was not at all fazed by the pressure, which makes sense, as he was able to throw a double play to give his team a chance in the bottom. Wario would actually be the first player to score for the Monkeys, tying the game for Blooper, who would land runners in the corners for the glove.
Oh, and a bobble off of Britta into an out. That's going to possibly get a big play here. No, Stevie Wonder is going to actually get the point there. So it's going to be 2-1. I think Monkeys are in the lead for might possibly be the first time in their career.
However, the Bows would be able to lock it back down, going back to square one for Sean in the top of the third. But the Monkeys stayed on guard, abolishing Abraham Lincoln with a double play. But if you know anything about the Bows, they were always plotting something. And that would come in the form of the Bug, the Pest himself, in Wiggler, who was not getting squashed like all the rest in a triple, but rather his first ever home run, getting him a little two-piece to take the lead.
Wiggler home run, possibly?
High fly ball center.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they were too slow. The buddy jump wasn't there fast enough.
And in the bottom of the fifth, it was starting to look like a predictable ending for the Monkeys. But Drybones must have been watching tapes of his relatives in previous games.
This is your best game so far.
This might be what you need. Big Drybones dinger.
Drybones is awesome.
Following the homer tying the game, the Yellow Brick Toad would be off to see a double, which would push another runner home to take the lead. And now Diddy Kong himself was in position to finally beat the negative allegations.
And Diddy?
If you know you're not supposed to root for Diddy, but that's a different Diddy.
This is a different Diddy.
That's great. This is the best Diddy. Fly ball into left field.
Runners in the corner.
Bounce. He's gonna.
Oh my God! 3-5.
Diddy with the RBI to left field. He's gonna. Yellow Brick Toad is gonna score from second.
Bowser would come out after a double play, but his efforts would sadly not be enough, as in the bottom of the sixth, Yellow Magic Koopa would also grab a piece of their own.
This is a rare moment.
Up here.
No way.
High
no
fly
way.
Ball left field.
And that would actually be where the scores would settle, with the Monkeys grabbing their first ever win in the league. Congrats to the Itch Monkeys. But Miles was not upset this week, surprisingly. After 2 losses, he was inspired by Baz, who did the exact same thing last week. And now, Miles wanted to take over the league. But will he? Find out next week. That was a lot of pretty insane games this week, and I hope that you all enjoyed. But by now, you all should know what part of the video it is. The weekly awards for week 4 were tough to decide, but are as follows. The Mushroom Conference Player of the Week was Cody Magikoopa of the Knights. Pitcher of the Week would fall unsurprisingly to Bowser of the Bows, regardless of how the week turned out. The Flowers would actually grab both Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week in Funky Kong and Lebloshi. The Banana Conference looks slightly different than usual, with the Spitballs grabbing Player of the Week for Blitter and Pitcher of the Week for King Boo. Offensive Player of the Week would land in the hands of Baby DK of the Wilds, and Yellow Magikoopa of the Monkeys would take Defensive Player of the Week. Thank you all for your continued support on the series, and hopefully I will see you next week with a recap on week 5.